Theme park tragedy. It happened overnight. We mentioned this at the top of the show. At least 4 people were killed in Australia when a popular ride malfunctioned.
Amusement parks are places filled with laughter and joy. Everyone knows that. The word amuse is literally in the name. But there are times when the screams of excitement turn into screams of terror.
Nightmare at an amusement park in Texas outside Dallas. A family watching as a mother on a roller coaster 14 stories high falls to her death.
In today's video, we'll be talking about 15 horrifying accidents that happened in amusement parks, causing death and destruction to those involved. Number 15. Adventureland, New York, 2005. Adventureland, a seemingly safe amusement park in Farmingdale, New York, carried a flawless safety record for 43 years, until 2005, when 2 horrifying tragedies unfolded within days of each other. What began as an ordinary day quickly turned into a nightmare when an 18-year-old park employee met a gruesome fate on a children's roller coaster. For reasons still unclear, the young man fell face first onto the tracks, where the oncoming cars crushed him. The sight left visitors and co-workers in shock, but the nightmare wasn't over for Adventureland. Just 3 days later, another tragedy struck, this time involving 45-year-old Barbara Brady, who decided to ride the Top Scan attraction, a windmill-like ride with 6 arms, each holding 5 seats. Brady, who weighed approximately 113 kilograms, was reassured by the operator that there were no weight restrictions for the ride. Once the ride began, everything seemed normal until disaster struck. Without warning, Brady was violently ejected from her seat mid-spin. Witnesses watched in horror as her body soared over a 7.5-meter-high park wall before slamming into the windshield of a parked car. The impact was so severe that it threw her lifeless body onto the ground. She died instantly, her body shattered by the catastrophic force of the accident. The investigation into Brady's death only deepened the mystery. No visible damage was found on her seat, and the Top Scan ride was equipped with a safety mechanism designed to prevent operation unless all seatbelts were securely locked. Despite this, the ride was permanently shut down, but Adventureland continued operations as though nothing had happened. Number 14. Luna Park, Australia, 1979. The fire on the ghost train at Luna Park in Sydney, Australia, in 1979 remains one of the most harrowing tragedies in amusement park history. On the evening of June 9, 1979, what began as a night of fun turned into a horror that shocked the nation. The Ghost Train, a 44-year-old attraction, was a beloved ride that carried passengers through dark, narrow tunnels filled with cobwebs, skeletons, and other eerie decorations designed to frighten but entertain. However, that night, the real terror was not part of the ride. Around 10 p.m., as the ride was operating, passengers began to smell smoke. Initially, many believed it was part of the experience, but soon, flames erupted violently through the tunnels. The ride operator managed to pull 13-year-old Jason Holman from the last seat just before the flames engulfed the train. His 4 teenage friends, who had entered the tunnels moments earlier, were not as lucky. The fire consumed the flammable decorations lining the wooden structure, trapping passengers inside the pitch-black maze. The flames spread rapidly, fueled by the old and highly combustible materials used in the ride's construction. Among the victims were 6-year-old Damien Godson and his 4-year-old brother Craig, who entered the ride with their father, John. Their mother, Jenny, had stepped away to buy ice cream, a decision that saved her life, but left her devastated as she helplessly watched the fire consume the attraction. When firefighters extinguished the blaze, they discovered 7 bodies, including the Godson family and Jason Holman's friends. Investigations revealed gross negligence and safety violations at Luna Park. Despite this, no one was held accountable. Decades later, claims of arson linked to organized crime have deepened the tragedy's mystery, leaving families without closure and a nation haunted by questions that may never be answered. Number 13. Schlitterbahn Water Park, 2016. In 2016, the Verrückt water slide in Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City turned into a death trap for 10-year-old Caleb Schwab. Designed to stand at an astonishing 51 meters high, Verrückt, meaning crazy in German, promised thrill seekers a near vertical descent at speeds of up to 113 kilometers per hour. But beneath its grandiose claims lay a deadly flaw. The slide had been designed by individuals with no engineering expertise, relying instead on a reckless trial-and-error approach. On that fateful day, Caleb and his 12-year-old brother climbed the towering staircase to experience the ride. Caleb was strapped into the raft, seated alongside 2 adult women. As Caleb hurtled down the slide, the raft was propelled into the air by the sheer force of speed. Instead of gliding smoothly to the bottom, it struck a protective metal net designed to keep riders safe. Tragically, the net became a lethal obstacle. The impact was so violent that Caleb was decapitated instantly, his body and head rolling into the pool below, where his family waited in horror. The entire park was thrown into chaos as onlookers screamed and staff scrambled to shut down the attraction. Despite the ride's closure, investigations revealed deeply troubling details. Verrückt's design bypassed basic safety standards, and concerns raised by test riders were ignored. Yet, in the aftermath of Caleb's death, no one was held accountable. The slide was demolished, but the lack of justice for the young boy's family remains a chilling reminder of the deadly risks hidden behind amusement parks' glossy facades. Caleb's death is a haunting testament to the dangers of prioritizing spectacle over safety. Number 12. Ohio State Fair, USA, 2017. The Ohio State Fair in 2017 became the scene of a horrifying tragedy that shook the amusement park industry. The ride in question, the Fireball, was a massive pendulum-like attraction designed to swing riders 12 meters into the air while simultaneously spinning them around its axis. The ride was a crowd favorite, drawing thrill seekers year after year. However, on July 26th, the Fireball turned from a source of excitement to a deadly nightmare. It was a warm summer evening when disaster struck. The ride was in full operation, packed with passengers enjoying the thrill of being flung through the air. Without warning, a catastrophic failure occurred. A powerful impact violently tore off an entire row of seats. Witnesses screamed in terror as several passengers were sent flying through the air, plummeting over 6 meters to the ground. Others remained trapped in their seats, dangling precariously as the ride ground to a stop. The chaos was immediate, with onlookers rushing to help the victims. Among the riders was 18-year-old Tyler Jarrell, who had enlisted in the U.S. Marines just days earlier. Tragically, Tyler did not survive. His seat was one of those ripped from the ride, and the impact killed him instantly. 7 others sustained injuries, ranging from broken bones to severe trauma. The scenes at the fairground were described as apocalyptic, with emergency responders struggling to stabilize the injured and maintain order amidst the pandemonium. The investigation revealed that the Fireball had suffered from excessive corrosion, which had weakened a crucial support beam. Despite being inspected just days prior, the ride's structural issues had gone unnoticed. The fireball was immediately shut down across the state, but for Tyler's family and the injured victims, the damage was irreversible, a grim reminder of the deadly risks hidden within seemingly thrilling attractions. Number 11. Disneyland, California, 2003. The Big Thunder Mountain Railroad accident at Disneyland in Anaheim, California, in September 2003 was as shocking as it was tragic, forever marring the reputation of one of the park's most beloved family rides. Designed to simulate a runaway mine train speeding through a rocky canyon, the ride seemed innocent enough for families seeking a mild thrill. But on the morning of September 5, 2003, a routine ride turned into a nightmare. As the train entered a dark, narrow tunnel, passengers were suddenly jolted by a deafening crash. The lead car had derailed, ripping itself off the tracks and slamming into the ceiling of the tunnel. The force of the derailment caused the front of the train to collapse, trapping terrified riders in a chaotic pile of twisted metal and debris. Screams echoed through the tunnel as smoke and dust filled the air, leaving passengers panicked and gasping for breath. Rescue efforts were chaotic as emergency crews struggled to reach the victims inside the cramped, dark space. The narrow tunnel made it impossible to use standard rescue tools, forcing firefighters to work manually to free the injured. The operation took nearly an hour, during which one passenger, 22-year-old Marcelo Torres, succumbed to his injuries. He had been seated in the first car, crushed by the impact. 10 others, including a 9-year-old child, sustained serious injuries ranging from broken bones to internal trauma. What had gone so horribly wrong? Investigators discovered that the derailment was caused by a mechanical failure. A critical wheel assembly had fallen off the train due to improper maintenance. Disneyland's once impeccable safety record was tarnished, and the park faced widespread scrutiny. How could such negligence occur in a park renowned for its attention to detail and safety? The attraction eventually reopened, but for many, the memory of that day lingers, a chilling reminder that even the happiest place on Earth is not immune to tragedy. Number 10. Battersea Park, England, 1972. On May 30th, 1972, a seemingly normal day at Battersea Park, Funfair turned into a nightmare that scarred London's history. The Big Dipper, a towering wooden roller coaster, was a centerpiece of the park, luring thrill-seekers with its steep climbs and stomach-churning drops. But that day, the excitement turned deadly in a matter of seconds. The tragedy began when the haulage rope, responsible for pulling the train up the first incline, suddenly snapped.
Failed.
Without warning, the train hurtled backward, gaining uncontrollable speed on the descent. The chaos reached its peak when the runaway cars derailed, slamming into a wooden barrier with horrifying force. Children, full of laughter moments before, were thrown violently from their seats, some trapped in the wreckage, others fatally injured on impact. 5 young lives were lost in the disaster, their futures stolen in the blink of an eye. Survivors and witnesses described scenes of carnage, twisted metal, shattered wood, and screams piercing the air. Parents searched frantically for their children, their cries of despair echoing through the park. Could this disaster have been avoided? How did a symbol of joy and thrill become a scene of unimaginable horror? The aftermath was no less devastating. The incident exposed glaring safety lapses and raised urgent questions about the park's maintenance protocols. The Big Dipper, once a beloved attraction, was dismantled and Battersea Park Funfair never recovered from the stain of the tragedy. By the early 1980s, the park itself was closed for good. Number 9. Kankaria Adventure Park, India, 2019. On a quiet Sunday evening, July 14, 2019, the vibrant Kankaria Adventure Park in Ahmedabad, India, became the site of a tragedy that no visitor could have foreseen. The Discovery Ride, a giant pendulum that swung thrill-seekers high into the sky, promised an adrenaline rush. Instead, it delivered horror. As the ride reached its apex, disaster struck. A massive metal arm supporting the pendulum suddenly snapped mid-air, sending the entire structure crashing to the ground with a deafening roar. The seats, once securely holding passengers, twisted and buckled under the immense impact, trapping and injuring riders in a nightmarish tangle of steel and debris. 2 people died instantly, their lives extinguished in an instant of mechanical failure, while at least 29 others were left writhing in pain, some with critical injuries. Witnesses stood frozen in shock. The park, filled with laughter moments before, became a scene of chaos. Bystanders rushed to help, clawing through the wreckage as panicked screams filled the air. Could this have been prevented? What series of negligence or oversight led to such a catastrophic failure in a place meant for joy and escapism? Investigations revealed troubling lapses in safety protocols. The ride, which should have been a symbol of cutting-edge engineering and meticulous maintenance, became a glaring example of oversight and negligence. The local government swiftly suspended other thrill rides at the park, but the damage had already been done. Number 8. West Edmonton Mall, Canada, 1986. June 14, 1986, started as a day of excitement at West Edmonton Mall in Alberta, Canada, home to the infamous Mindbender roller coaster. Known as the world's largest indoor triple-loop coaster, it was a marvel of engineering, a daredevil's dream. But that evening, the dream turned into an unimaginable nightmare. As the train roared through its course, packed with riders seeking thrills, a harrowing failure unfolded. Mid-ride, bolts securing the final car to the track sheared off, causing the car to sway violently. The joyous screams of passengers transformed into cries of terror as the train hurtled toward the third loop. The detached car derailed, slamming into a concrete pillar before coming to a jarring halt. In a matter of seconds, 3 people lost their lives, thrown from their seats as the train careened out of control. 19 others were left injured, many seriously, in a horrific scene of mangled metal and human devastation. Onlookers were paralyzed with shock as emergency crews scrambled to rescue those trapped in the wreckage. Could such a disaster have been foreseen? How did one of the world's most advanced roller coasters fail so catastrophically? Investigators later revealed the ride had been plagued by maintenance issues, with design flaws in the wheel assembly contributing to the tragedy. The ride's operating license was revoked, and the Mindbender underwent extensive redesigns before reopening years later. Number 7. Eco Venture Valley, China, 2010. On June 29, 2010, what was supposed to be a thrilling simulation of space exploration at Eco Venture Valley in Shenzhen, China, turned into a catastrophe that horrified onlookers and shook the nation. The Space Journey ride, a high-tech centrifuge designed to mimic the intense G-forces experienced during space travel, became a scene of chaos and tragedy in the blink of an eye. As riders strapped into the capsule, anticipation filled the air. The ride began to spin, picking up speed, its powerful mechanics pushing the boundaries of exhilaration. But suddenly, disaster struck. A critical malfunction sent one of the capsules hurtling off its axis at terrifying velocity. The violent impact smashed the capsule into the ride's structure, causing others to collide in a devastating chain reaction. Inside the capsules, riders were subjected to unimaginable forces as the machinery spiraled out of control. By the time the ride came to a grinding halt, 6 people had been killed and 10 others were severely injured. Emergency responders arrived to scenes of unspeakable carnage, shattered machinery, broken capsules, and the anguished cries of survivors. Could this horrifying event have been prevented? Was this an engineering flaw, or had human error sealed the fate of those on board? Investigators discovered that a sudden power failure had triggered the malfunction, but deeper scrutiny revealed alarming oversights in the ride's design and maintenance. The system lacked sufficient fail-safes to prevent the deadly sequence of events, raising serious questions about safety regulations in the rapidly expanding Chinese theme park industry. The Space Journey ride was permanently shut down, but for the victims' families and those who witnessed the horror, the scars remain. What was marketed as a journey to the stars instead became a journey into despair. Number 6. Kings Island, Ohio, 1991. June 9th, 1991, in the Kings Island Amusement Park in Ohio. 2 separate, devastating incidents unfolded within hours, leaving 3 people dead and shattering the illusion of safety. It began with a routine night at the park's Oktoberfest area. A young man entered a restricted pond near the Congo Falls ride to retrieve a fallen item. What should have been a minor mishap turned fatal as he came into contact with an electrified underwater pump. Witnesses watched in stunned silence as 2 would-be rescuers, including a park employee, waded into the water and were struck down by the same unseen danger. The electrified pond became a silent killer, taking 3 lives before anyone could comprehend the scope of the tragedy. How does a place built for happiness harbor such a deadly secret? Could anyone have foreseen this invisible menace? As grief gripped the park, just hours later, another calamity struck. On the Flight Commander ride, a woman in her 30s fell to her death. The high-speed spinning and tilting ride, designed to give a simulated aerial experience, became a death trap. Eyewitnesses claimed she appeared disoriented moments before she fell, leading to speculation about a medical issue, improper restraints, or operator error. The dual tragedies forced Kings Island to confront serious safety questions. Electrical systems were overhauled and ride protocols were scrutinized, but for the victims' families, no amount of reform could undo the horror. Number 5. Luna Park, France, 2023. On August 5th, 2023, a summer evening at Luna Park in Cap d'Agde, France, transformed from joy to terror in a moment that left the seaside resort town reeling. The Adrenaline Ride, a towering reverse bungee attraction known for flinging thrill-seekers skyward, was designed to deliver a rush. But that night, the rush gave way to catastrophe. As crowds gathered to watch, the ride began its usual launch. The spherical capsule, tethered by massive elastic cords, shot upward, a spectacle of force and velocity. Riders screamed in delight, but the atmosphere shifted when one of the cords visibly began to fray mid-air. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then, in a sickening instant, the cord snapped, leaving the capsule suspended by a single line, swinging wildly and slamming into the ride's steel frame. Panic erupted as the capsule dangled precariously before slamming to the ground, ejecting its occupants with devastating force. 2 teenagers inside, just out for an evening of summer fun, suffered critical injuries, their screams silenced by the shock of impact. Onlookers, frozen moments before, rushed toward the scene, their faces etched with disbelief. How could such a failure happen in an attraction meant to thrill? Not in danger? Was this a freak accident or the result of negligence? Maintenance records pointed to wear on the cords, raising questions about whether the ride had been properly inspected. Officials temporarily shut down Luna Park and similar rides across the region, but the damage was done. Confidence in the park's safety had been shattered. Number 4. Six Flags, Great Adventure, New Jersey, 1984. On May 11, 1984, what was meant to be a night of thrills and spooky fun at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey turned into a devastating nightmare. The Haunted Castle, a popular walk-through attraction filled with eerie props and jump scares, became the scene of a fire so catastrophic it would forever change the amusement park industry. That evening, the attraction was bustling with visitors, eager to experience its scares. Among the crowd were 8 teenagers, excitedly making their way through the dimly lit maze of haunted corridors. Then, without warning, smoke began to fill the structure. Flames, fueled by the flammable materials that lined the castle's walls, spread rapidly, engulfing the attraction in a deadly inferno. Panic erupted as visitors and staff scrambled to escape the maze-like interior. Screams for help were drowned out by the roar of the fire. The blaze consumed the haunted castle in minutes, leaving firefighters with the grim task of navigating the charred wreckage. Amid the smoldering ruins, the bodies of 8 teenagers were discovered, trapped in what was supposed to be a place of harmless fear. How could a simple haunted house turn into such a horrifying death trap? What safety measures had failed, or worse, been ignored? The haunted castle was classified as a temporary structure, meaning it bypassed stricter fire safety regulations. It lacked proper fire alarms, sprinklers, and emergency exits. The materials used in its construction were highly flammable, and there was no clear evacuation plan for visitors. Number 3. Cug Park, Nebraska, 1930. The summer of 1930 was meant to be a time of simple pleasures at Cug Park in Omaha, Nebraska. Known for its carnival charm and family-friendly attractions, the park was a cherished escape from the daily grind of the Great Depression. But on July 24th, joy turned to terror aboard the park's marquee attraction, the Big Dipper roller coaster, when an unimaginable disaster struck. The Big Dipper was a wooden coaster known for its steep drops and sharp turns, thrilling riders with its rickety, fast-paced design. That day, as the ride climbed to its highest point, passengers leaned into the excitement, unaware of the looming danger. At the crest of the track, a coupling mechanism on the lead car failed. The train, fully loaded with eager riders, lost its grip and careened backward down the incline. The uncontrolled cars gained speed, slamming into the coaster's framework with a thunderous crash. Several passengers were thrown from their seats, hurtling into the unforgiving wooden structure or falling to the ground below. In total, 4 people were killed, and 19 others were injured, some critically. Witnesses described scenes of pure chaos, screams of agony, debris scattered across the park, and frantic attempts by bystanders to help. The tragedy shook Omaha, casting a shadow over Cug Park's reputation. The Big Dipper was dismantled shortly after, and Cogue Park itself closed within a year, unable to recover from the blow. Number 2. Dreamworld, Australia, 2016. In 2016, a day of fun at Dreamworld, one of Australia's most popular theme parks, turned into a harrowing tragedy that shocked the nation. The Thunder River Rapids ride, a family-friendly attraction known for its gentle thrills, became the site of unimaginable horror on October 25th. What was supposed to be a routine ride ended in catastrophe, claiming the lives of 4 visitors in a matter of seconds. How could a place meant for joy become the stage for such devastation? The victims, Kate Goodchild, her brother Luke Dorset, Luke's partner Ruzi Aragi and Cindy Lowe, were on the raft when disaster struck. A mechanical pump malfunction caused water levels to drop unexpectedly, stranding their raft on the conveyor belt. Moments later, another raft collided with theirs, causing it to flip. The victims were either crushed by the massive conveyor belt or thrown into the machinery beneath the ride. The sheer violence of the accident left witnesses in disbelief and emergency responders visibly shaken. Investigations revealed troubling lapses in safety protocols. It was discovered that the ride had a history of malfunctions and that safety measures were either outdated or ignored. The park's failure to address these issues raised questions about accountability. Could this tragedy have been prevented if profit hadn't overshadowed safety? Number 1. Mirabilandia, Brazil, 2023. In September 2023, a horrifying accident at the Mirabilandia Amusement Park in Olinda, Brazil, shocked onlookers and left a woman gravely injured. The incident occurred on the Wave Swinger, a ride that elevates swing seats on chains up to 12 meters, mimicking wave-like motions. During its routine operation, a malfunction caused one swing to detach, flinging its occupant, 33-year-old Davine Muniz Cordero, violently to the ground. The impact resulted in severe injuries, including traumatic brain damage and multiple fractures. Emergency responders rushed her to the Hospital de Restauração, where she underwent critical treatment. Over the next 4 months, she went through numerous surgeries in an attempt to save her life. Tragically, despite extensive medical efforts, Davine succumbed to her injuries in February 2024. Shockingly, the park remained operational immediately after the incident, a decision that sparked public outrage. Investigations revealed a failure in the ride's safety mechanisms, prompting the park to suspend the Wave Swinger for inspection. The incident has since raised critical concerns about maintenance standards and oversight in amusement parks. Thanks for watching another episode. While you are still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more quality content.